The Handmade Contemporary Fair is gearing up for its 17th edition. From the 1st to the 3rd of September, Melrose Arch Precinct in Johannesburg will play host to Africa's quintessential artisanal luxury fair. This year's fair will feature over 120 different artisans and makers from across the continent. For more on this, we're joined by the fair's head of operations, Lesley Hudson, and one of the vendors, not just any old vendor at this year's fair, Lerato Motau, was in the studio with us this morning and has brought some of her beautiful pieces with us that we'll show throughout our conversation. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us this morning. If we can make some eye contact, that'd be great. Lesley, let's start with you. 17 years. Can you believe it? If you look at where the Handmade Contemporary Fair started to where it is now, in which way do you think it's grown the most?
That's not a straightforward question,
no, it's
unfortunately.
Not.
So it had a huge growth spurt, and it really reached its peak just before COVID. But I think COVID caused a lot of disruptions for everybody, but we were definitely not immune to those disruptions. So it shrunk a little bit. It kind of retreated back into reflection and thinking, and now it's back in full force as it was.
And don't you find with these kinds of things, post-COVID, people are so much more appreciative of being able to be in these kinds of spaces, and it's almost come back better?
Absolutely. So there are two sides to it. So on the makers' side, you found that there were makers that definitely didn't make it through COVID. They weren't able to...
Tragically so.
Yes. But on the other hand, there were makers that really used the opportunity to blossom and flourish, introspect, and then recreate in ways that are just extraordinary. So that's extraordinary. And then, obviously, from the guests that come to the fair and the consumers, there's an appreciation of being together with other people, but then also just seeing the glitter and the gorgeousness of it.
It just makes you want to reach out and touch it, doesn't it? You know, it brings out that childlikeness in us, because we're surrounded by so much doom and gloom. When you are able to go into a beautiful space, it like affects you quite physically, Lerato, don't you think so?
Yeah, it truly does. I was just sharing with Lesley that the last exhibition that I was having in Soweto, everybody wanted to touch the work. And then she says, you know, this is so wonderful that we cannot hold ourselves. We want to touch it. It's handmade. We just feel that the hands that make these beautiful things, you want to be part of it, you know, not just looking at it, but just holding it.
You almost want to check if it's real.
Yes.
You know, it's like, and I talk about it being a childlike quality, because like I've got a toddler in the house, and you know, you have to do all these sensory things, and you realize we could do with a little bit of sensory moment. Take your shoes off, go stand on the grass, put your hand in some sand, and there's a very visceral impact that working with materials has. What is that like for you, Lerato? This is your life's work.
It's sort of like I'm relearning each and every time, because, you know, each and every stitch, it takes me from 0.0 into 100, just one stitch. And then with the colors as well, it changes each and every time. The materials that I use, like your Hessian, if I have like 10 pieces, it won't be the same. It's just one of each. And I cannot get the actual pink. If it's the pink or an orange, it will be a different pink that I get, or a different series color that I find. So it makes it so special and a bit hard for people that, you know, when you say, I love the orange series, and I'm left with two, there's nothing that I can do.
It makes it exclusive, doesn't
yes,
it?
It does.
and Lesley, that's where the Contemporary Fair comes in. It's exclusive, but you're trying to make it exclusive in an accessible way.
That's exactly right. So it's bespoke rather than exclusive, and it's intended for people that really appreciate the quality of the craftsmanship and the whole being that all these crafters put into their things. So the consumers of it love that. And you know, I think the tactile part is very important, because this is not art that just sits on a wall and that you brush past as you're walking along. This is art in every sense. Art on your ears, art on your hands, art in your in your room. It's intended for you to interact with it. The bowls that you use, the creams, everything is meant for the consumer to also use their hands in.
Lerato, I was quite intrigued when I heard that you were one of the vendors and we were going to be speaking to you, because I know your work as an artiste, you know, and I was quite interested to hear from you how you transition from you're making this work of art that's going to hang in a beautiful gallery and people will talk about it and sip their wine and that kind of thing, to being at a fair, at a market where you want people to interact with your work in a different way. How do you go about making that transition as an artist? And when people decide they want to purchase a piece, is it up to them or to you to decide how they want to display it in their homes or wherever they're taking it?
I think in terms of displaying, it's individually. If you want to put it in a frame, or you just want others, they even want to say to me, can I just put it on my bed or just put it on the table? You know, not frame it on the wall. And also, it's just one of these things that I say, because it's a visual perception thing, that one wants to look at it and touch it. It's one of those pieces that I take with. I don't want it to have it more of text or speak about it. It's visual boldness all the way. If it's not color, it's pattern, it's textures, it's stitches individually, so that each and every stitch represent me as a person, you know, stitching my wounds, healing myself, and
and that's the beauty of your work, in that you do speak very openly about some of your work coming from a dark place. You lost a family member a few years ago, and that you poured all of that into your work. I think 10,000 Women was one of your pieces or exhibitions, I remember. But you also make space for stylishness and joyfulness and playfulness in your work. Talk to me about that.
I think one thing that comes, my mom, she's more of a fashionista, and we grew up knowing that fashion is our first love, you know, people wearing good clothes, looking beautiful each and every time. So whatever that I think of as an artist, first thing that comes is fashion to me, and the rest would follow. So when I think of colors, if this season we're having this color, I would try to just match it with the fashion season, that, okay, they're in there, mauves, purples, and I would, okay, contemporary, and also orange goes with mauve, orange goes with purple. So I would always try to fit in terms of that. And working with different fabrics, it makes it more special, that it changes each and every time. You would have your Setswana fabrics, and then you would have your Ndebele fabrics. So like in Africa, we have different types of textures, fabric patterns. So when I think of such things and wanting to depict it into my work, and also telling a story of just LM Studios using my hands and hand embroidery, so that's what I...
Gosh, Lesley, when you hear these artists talk about what they pour into their work, from a personal point of view, you must feel like a sense of responsibility to try and make sure that people are able to experience their work in the best possible way.
That's why I love this job. I mean, when I listen to Lerato, this
like
is
if you could, you were almost getting onto a lap right now.
No, completely. And that's what's so spectacular about this job, is Lerato is unique and amazing, but all the vendors that we work with are like a Lerato. They all have that same passion, that same care, that same commitment to what they're doing. And to see the kind of quality that people produce is extraordinary. I wanted to just pick up on something that Lerato said. You know, the name of the fair is Handmade Contemporary Fair. And I think handmade and contemporary are both of equal value there. And Lerato makes this point very well. This is not just harking back to your legacy. This is harking back to your legacy, capturing a heritage that's been passed down either by your culture or through your family, but also contemporizing it, making it sassy and gorgeous and
now
and stuff that you want to wear now, not kind of becoming a hippie or becoming a traditionalist or something.
But also having vendors like Lerato that says, but I'm letting go of my baby, but you can do with it what you want and how you feel you want to do with it. How difficult was it selecting vendors? Because I'm sure you're getting thousands of applications, but you can't give everybody a spot. Is that a tough job?
Yeah, it's a tough job. It's a fantastic job. So our criteria are quite specific. The brand is very specific. It's about handmade, it's about contemporary, it's about luxury, and it's about local, either South African or on the continent. So that already excludes a whole lot of makers. But then there's always the balance between the well-known brands, the people that we've all come to love, and those that you spot, that people say, are you sure, never heard of them, don't have a huge social media following, and you just know that people are going to love them. And somehow taking people into our space, which is always beautiful, elevates the quality of their products. When you take a beautiful product and you put it into a beautiful space, it just shines so spectacularly.
And that must make you feel safe, going into a space like a fair and people having a good time and, oh, I like that, and oh, that doesn't go with my dining room set, blah, 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 blah. But it does make you feel safe as an artist then to take your work to a place like that.
It does, because already they have their mind of how are they going to, you know, put up the space and put up everybody, and the space to be more of like bespoke pieces. When you look at it, so you go, so that's one thing that I like it with fairs, because you have all these different vendors, you have all these different curators that comes in to make us feel special, and also our products to be one of the kind, you know, and also contemporary. That's, yeah.
Now, Lesley, as we finish off our conversation, this thing's also become a bit of a party, hasn't it? As only Joburg can. What can people expect if they decide to buy a ticket and come and have a good time and hopefully walk home with a one-of-a-kind piece of art?
I'm so glad you said that, because at the end of the day, it's a lifestyle event. It's about having an experience. So people who come actually become part of the fair, in that everybody dresses up. Everybody looks gorgeous. I'm always amazed at how many beautiful people there are. And people have come to drink, to eat, to taste beautiful food. We've got a fantastic DJ lineup this year to match a spectacular food offering, and we're working with Wakanda food incubators. So you've come to do all of that, meet your friends, and then shop. And I think people shop better and more freely when they're happy.
Oh, I thought you were going to say when they've had something to drink and eat.
And the best of local food and wine.
And just remind people again where they can get tickets.
Tickets are on web ticket, or you could go to our website, which is eNCA.co.za.
And it's coming up at the beginning of September.
Yes, 1st of September.
1st of September.
Yes.
So you've got no excuse, it's after payday. Lesley Hudson is the head of operations for the Handmade Contemporary Fair. The 17th edition, I almost can't believe it, and one of the beautiful vendors at this year's fair, the beautiful Lerato Motau. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for bringing some beauty into our studios today. We don't often get to experience that. We really do appreciate it, and we wish you everything of the best. We hope the sold-out sign goes up after the first day. Thank you so much for coming in this morning. We appreciate it.